Senator from Illinois.
I've come to the floor today as a senator, a veteran, and apparently, according to Donald Trump, a sucker and a loser. Perhaps my presence here is uncomfortable for him. After all, according to a number of reports, he thinks nobody wants to see wounded warriors like me who've lost limbs fighting to keep other Americans safe. But unfortunately for him, I am here. And I'm here because of the ethos of the United States military is the exact opposite of the selfish, craven, me-first mentality that Trump has shown every hour of every day of his life. In the Army, part of our soldiers' creed was to never leave a fallen comrade behind. And the only reason I'm speaking today, the only reason I'm breathing today, alive today, is because on November 12, 2004, after Iraqi insurgents fired an RPG through the Black Hawk I was co-piloting, my buddies embodied that creed. They thought I was dead, and yet they risked their own safety to bring my body back home to my family, only realizing I was still breathing when they got me to the rescue aircraft. And then these heroes, wounded themselves, refused care until the medic had tended to me first. If it had been Donald Trump in that dusty field with me, or in any other battlefield, our wounded like me never would have made it home at all. But he never would have been in Iraq that day because Trump fundamentally cannot understand the notion of sacrificing for your nation. He can't comprehend the true meaning of courage, the idea of fighting for something greater than yourself, greater than your bank account or your poll numbers. He doesn't understand service, so he doesn't understand America's service members, the heroes, most of them anonymous to all but those who love them, who've allowed him to sleep soundly in his gold-plated Fifth Avenue tower throughout his privileged, gilded life. Instead, Trump has reportedly called those who've died or been wounded in battle, and I quote, suckers and losers. While just today it was reported that he used the most demeaning of terms to refer to the military leaders he thinks of as his generals, echoing comments he's made publicly time after time when he slandered war heroes like John McCain and Gold Star families like the Khans, acting yet again as if bleeding to defend your nation is something to be ashamed of rather than a badge of honor, too ignorant to understand that he's the one who should be ashamed. You know, I spent this weekend reflecting on the words of another Republican president who in the midst of crisis reminded those sitting before him at Gettysburg the duty our nation has to those killed serving our country. In that address that we all know so well, he declared that it is for us, the living, to dedicate ourselves to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced, that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion. That cause was a new birth of freedom in this nation, the bettering of our democracy, bringing our union closer to perfection even though we know we can never achieve it. What Lincoln understood, and what Trump never will, is that to be contemptuous of American warriors is to be disrespectful to the whole of the American people. And when those lucky enough to serve in Congress or in the White House raise our right hands and swear out to faithfully serve this nation in these ornate, hallowed halls, it is on us to keep faith with those who've raised their right hands and sworn to serve this nation in the most dangerous war zones imaginable. There's an implicit contract between our country's leaders and our warriors. They and their families have entrusted us with their care, their training, and the decision to send them to war, and that responsibility is a grave one. They will march to do our bidding on command. They will cross the line of departure and begin killing the enemy at our behest, with no regard for their personal safety or the toll on their mental health. If our leaders regard our heroes as suckers and losers, what damage will be done to America's sons and daughters who comprise the terrible swift sword? Well, I can tell you right now, it endangers every single one of them, and it endangers our nation's safety. If you care about nothing else, if you care nothing about basic decency or troop morale, it is bad for troop readiness as well. Because when a warrior goes into combat, they need to know that their buddies to their left and their right will follow that creed to never leave a fallen comrade behind. That no matter what, no matter how, their buddies, their nation, will get them out of there, even if it's just bringing their body home to rest at Arlington. It's because our service members uphold the values of the military. In the Army, those are loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, integrity, and personal courage. That they are willing to sacrifice everything for this country, and that we have the greatest fighting force on the face of the earth. Donald Trump, by contrast, has shown active disdain for each of those values in his 4 years in office. He's shown the exact opposite of every one of those traits, displaying no sense of duty, a laughable sense of loyalty, integrity and courage, no, not to be seen. He has no respect for those in uniform, and selfishness is his trademark rather than the selflessness of our troops. But if Trump's toxicity starts to break down those values within the military, if we start to question why we care about those who have been wounded or killed for us, if we start leaving folks behind, then people will begin to think twice about signing up to serve. Families will reconsider supporting their loved ones' decisions to enlist. Those few Americans who are ready to take on that mission, that burden, will start to hesitate because they won't know if their own crew will risk their lives like mine did to carry their limp body back to safety. But this coward-in-chief in the White House today is too ignorant in matters of both common decency and national security to get that. And so he doesn't deserve to be commander-in-chief of this military for another 4 minutes, let alone another 4 years. So yes, I'm disappointed that my Republican colleagues will be objecting to passing my Senate resolution honoring our troops, veterans, and Gold Star families, and that they will not be condemning Trump's disgraceful behavior that denigrates military service, that has dishonored the office of the presidency. Does any senator actually oppose affirming that part of what makes America not only great but good is the service of Americans who have always placed the mission first, never asking what's in it for them? Does any member actually object to the Senate resolving to always respect the sacrifices and bravery of those who became prisoners of war or went missing in action? I'm confident that no one here actually opposes the Senate declaring that we'll always care for service-disabled veterans who've borne the battle in defense of our nation, recognizing that wounds of war are earned by patriots who put America's interests before their own. So what's the problem? If Senate Republicans actually agree with everything I just listed, why would they oppose my resolution stating the same? I know some may dismiss this resolution out of hand, claiming it's nothing more than just a partisan jab at Donald Trump. To those people, I'd simply ask that they not rewrite recent history and stop pretending that outrage over Trump's disrespect of the military is something new, or that one that just originated with the Democratic Party. After all, some of the very first public officials to speak out against it were Republican senators who continue to serve in this very chamber today. When then candidate Trump claimed the late Senator John McCain was not a war hero because Trump likes people who weren't captured, it was the senator's friend from South Carolina who wrote, "If there was ever any doubt that Trump should not be our commander-in-chief, this should end our doubt." And again, it was the senior senator from Florida who said much of the same. I can only say that it is shameful that no one on the other side of the aisle has stood up to condemn this president for the comments he has made, for the fact that he did not make his way to that cemetery to honor those veterans of Belleau Woods laying at rest in that foreign soil, who were there not just for us, but for our allies, for everyone that they may never even know. So today I'm here, Mr. President, to ask, as if in legislative session, I ask unanimous consent that the Senate proceed to the immediate consideration of Senate Resolution 689, which was submitted earlier today. I further ask that the resolution be agreed to, the preamble be agreed to, and the motion to reconsider be considered, made, and laid upon the table with no intervening action or debate.